We are going to start. We're very fortunate this morning to have with us a world-renowned musical group known as either the Cacophonous Multitudes or the Joyful Noise, unencumbered by such things as rehearsals. These all-stars, again, from around the world and as far as Anderson County, have come this morning to join with you and invite your own voices to rise in song. We're going to start with 3 songs, and then we're going to get into some words. Okay, so let's do the song part. This is going to be fun.
Jim.
We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved, just like a tree planted by the water. We shall not be moved. Standing up for justice, we shall not be moved. Standing up for justice, we shall not be moved, just like a tree planted by the water. We shall not be moved. All of us together, we shall not be moved. All of us together, we shall not be moved, just like a tree planted by the water. We shall not be moved. Right here in Blood County, right here in Blood County, we shall not be moved. Right here in Blood County, we shall not be moved, just like a tree planted by the water. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved, just like a tree planted by the water. We shall not be moved. One more time, bring it on. We shall not be moved. Oh, we shall not be moved, just like a tree planted by the water. We shall not be moved. That was highly adequate. Which is a standard for this morning, by the way.
Those are always our standard, Jake.
Well, what is the next song on the slides? Because we think. Oh, it's I Will, of course. Yeah. In bigger words. Holly Near. If you haven't Googled Holly Near, if you haven't established a relationship with Holly Near and her music, here's some encouragement. I am open and I am willing to be hopeless. What seems so strange is honor before us to lift me up till I have changed. There is hurting in my family. There is sorrow this honor, let's go before us, so lift me up to life change. There is hurting in my family, there is sorrow in my town, there is pain in the nation, there is waiting overcome. I am open, and I am willing for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It's honors, but you go before us, so lift me up to life change. Give me a mighty yoke for my confusion. Give me a desert to hold my fears. Give me a sunset to hold my wonder. Give me an ocean to hold my tears. I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It's honors those who go before us, so lift me up to life change. I'm open, and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It's honors those who go before us, so lift me up to life change. That was like 3 clicks above adequate. I don't know what kind of contagion is spreading throughout this room, but yeah.
It's the
You
jet
might-
effect.
I'm just partaking. Okay. This is a song that has chords to go with it. And there those chords are.
I think Mark Knopfler wrote a song about me. He said he knows all the chords.
I know all 3 of them.
Indeed, I'm reading the truth.
Oh, okay. Your fellow man, in my helping hand, put a little love in your heart. You see it's getting late, lean on that day, put a little love in your heart, and the world will be a better
affectionately known as FUUF. We are so happy that you have joined us today. It is, as you may have gleaned, a very special day. And I'm Jen Spurko. I'm the worship co-coordinator here at FUUF. No matter who you are, no matter who you love, no matter where you are on your life's journey, please know that you are welcome here. If you are new to our community, we give you a very special welcome. We would like to learn more about you, and we'd like to keep in touch. Please stop at the greeters table where our lovely greeters are, right by the doors you came in, and fill out the info form, and we will be happy to follow up on that connection. Today's topic is You Are an Architect, and our sermon is by our brand new, I think we can still say that for a couple more weeks, our brand new minister, Reverend Jake Morrow. You are invited to stand up if you like at any point during the announcements or the story, I think. Time we got here, yeah. And head back to the greeter table if you have any joys or concerns that you would like spoken during our time of shared prayer. That table is that book is at the greeter table. As we gather this morning, we give honor and respect to the descendants of the indigenous people who first lived on this land, especially those scattered and known now as the Cherokee people. Here we are gathered, a community of love, a community bound not by any physical space, but by our hope for this world and our acknowledgement of our dependence on each other, on our ancestors, and on this beautiful planet Earth. Let us worship together.
Good morning.
Good morning.
As we light the chalice, a beacon of this community, let us remember the chalice's origin as a symbol of real sanctuary and recommit ourselves to being a place of life-saving welcome for all people, no exceptions.
Please join with me in the words of our covenant.
Love is the spirit of this fellowship, and service is its blessing. To dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. This is our faith covenant.
Now we'll sing Sanctuary.
I mean, we could also just sing.
Make us where we are sanctuary, each day holy, love right through, with thanksgiving, will be a living sanctuary anew. Make us aware we are sanctuary, each made holy, love right through, with thanksgiving, will be a living sanctuary anew. Oh, with thanksgiving, will be a living sanctuary anew.
Just like in practice.
I should stand up here probably for the.
Please.
I'll stand up here. The story today is not the story of the golden calf. About 5 o'clock yesterday, it changed to another story. I thought that Jen might explode after all of my emails yesterday.
It's all good.
I want to signal or let you know when something that I'm saying might not be true. And that will sound something like, as the story goes, because from my internet research, as far as I can tell, this may or may not have happened, and surely did not happen as I will tell it. So as the story goes, after the Great Fire of 1666, which leveled the city of London, the great architect, Christopher Wren, 17th century architect, was brought in to rebuild St. Paul's Cathedral. And so the story goes, as the story goes, wink, wink, maybe it happened, maybe it didn't. In 1671, 5 years later, when the cathedral was being raised, Christopher Wren went to walk around and to look at his work. And he came upon one mason who was there working on setting a brick just right, and he said, "Good sir, tell me, what is it you're doing?" And the worker turned and answered and said, "Well, all I can tell you is I'm about to put this brick right here because I'm just trying to make a living." Christopher Wren, the great architect, walked on around to the other side of the building, and he came upon a second person who was hard at work. He said, "Pray, sir, tell me, what are you doing?" And the second one turned to him and said, "Well, I am hard at work. I'm building this wall." And Christopher Wren received that answer, went around to the third side of the building, and of this St. Paul's Cathedral under construction, and he said to the third person working, "Tell me, sir, what is it that you are at work on today?" And the person turned around and said to him, "Well, I will tell you. I have devoted my life to constructing a cathedral in which people will gather to encounter the holy for generations to come." And this is a story about what it means to relate to the work set before you, which I'll speak about in the sermon in a moment.
I'd like to invite you to a time of generosity. During this time, we remember that how we use and share our resources is a spiritual practice, an opportunity to put our values into meaningful action. In the spirit of generosity, we share the plate every month with a different organization that reflects our shared values. This month's recipient is Black Pride. The purpose of Black Pride is to uplift and celebrate the LGBTQ+ community in Black County. They do this through public events that make our lives and our stories visible, and through building connections across the diversity of experiences here in Black County. Just yesterday, if you have not heard, Black Pride could not secure a location sufficient to the full event this year, so we're breaking it up into separate events on different days and times. Yesterday was the Vendors Market, which was held at the Burger Book. Our own Ashley Daniel performed, Matt Pennington with the Chronicles of Yarnia. Crochet Item, Kim Stevenson had a booth up for the pop print photography, which is a wonderful, great pictures, by the way. Even if you don't have a pet, you can buy a picture of a pet. Maybe not as much fun as having a pet, but sometimes maybe more fun.
Yeah, less work.
Jennifer and I are on the board. FUUF is very involved and has been very involved in Black Pride. And in addition to your financial generosity, I do want to encourage people to show up on August 31st at our rally, which will be at the Sam Houston statue outside of the municipal building. As a way of raising visibility and just showing Black County that it is more diverse than some people might want it to be. Coming up after that, there will be a Rainbow Connections, all ages drag show and resource fair on September 7th, and an interfaith worship service on September 8th. Soon we'll be passing baskets for any donations you'd like to make, including a donation of your time to the TLC team. But there are additional ways to give. You can mail a check to FUUF at 1039 Hampshire Drive, Maryville, Tennessee. You can donate online through FUUF.org/donate. Or, if you're hip and modern, you can text to 73256 FUUF and the amount of your donation, and I'll send you a link to complete your donation through Realm. As I've said, giving of your time and talents and sometimes just your physical presence is just as important. We invite you to get involved in one of our wonderful teams which work to act on our values, like the TLC team, which you hopefully have their handout in hand. And I can say, as a recipient of the TLC team generosity this past year, quite supportive in troubled times. So please find something on that resource list that you can help with and return that sheet in the offering basket. And if you need to receive generosity right now, please be in touch with our minister at FUUF.org. We invite you into the spiritual practice of generosity. The offering will now be gratefully received.
Can everybody hear me okay through my mask? I have a big mouth.
Yes.
Okay. In a typically UU fashion here, we understood different things about what is about to happen. And I was thinking this next song was a sing-along, and others thought that I was going to sing it by myself. That is a very bad idea under this circumstance. So, we don't
it's
have...
slightly less largely bad idea. He asked me to sing.
Yes, well, I'm also asking all of you to sing it, even though you don't know what it is or how it goes. I'm going to teach you a little bit. It's in the key of C, the people's key. And it's a democratic key because it's too high for most of us, too low for everybody, and absolutely suited to no one. It's like democracy, it's the people's key, right? Years ago, FUUF decided to make Woody Guthrie an honorary Unitarian for his 95th birthday. And in that spirit, where he would take popular folk songs and rewrite them as to activist anthems, we wrote a song called We're Sticking with the Unions. And it's to the tune of Red Wing, or you might know it if you know Woody Guthrie, it's the song Union Made. We're going to sing it, but I'd like to read the words to you since you might not catch them as we go through here, and teach you the chorus, and then we're going to try it, if that's okay. The words, though, are this, that our own religious breed accepts no certain creed. We've agreed that there's no need, and our minds indeed are free to brew eclectic stew from sources old and new. Respect for you and you and you is our spiritual glue. So that's our statement. But then here, your part comes in and says, oh, you can't fool us. We're sticking with the UUs. We're sticking with the UUs. We're sticking with the UUs. That's not too hard. No, you can't fool us. We're sticking with the UUs. We're sticking with the UUs unless we change our minds. Okay? So that's your part. And then there's a second verse that I just got read so you'll hear it. We're non-sectarians and libertarians, vegetarian, Buddhist, Wiccan, Pastafarians eating chicken, atheist Christian Jews with scientific views, non-barbarian, pro-librarian, using what we choose. Okay? And then you come back into the chorus. All right. So you get, and in the line of, yes, take one. The people's key, it's also a banjo, which satisfies no one. Ready? 2, ready, go.
Our own religious breed accepts no certain creed. We've already agreed that there's no need, and our minds indeed are free. Through eclectic stew, sources old and new. Respect for you and you is our spiritual clue. Oh, you can't fool us. We're sticking with you. Oh, you can fool. That's where you see it with you. We're sticking with you. We're sticking with you. Oh, you can fool. That's where you're sticking with you. We're sticking with you. Let's change our minds. Woo!
Y'all aren't done singing yet. It's gonna be a round. Yeah, we'll do it. So we're gonna do one, just this verse through once. Yeah. So we'll do this verse all together, one time. And the second time, you guys are with me, right? We're gonna start just like normal.
And then midway through, we'll come in starting from the top.
And we'll do the second round. We'll continue it as a round. Okay? We can do it. We can do rounds. Yeah. Don't embarrass me in front of the new ministering guys. All right. You want to hit the note first? Because I'll go to you. There is a love
Holding me.
There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding all. I rest in this love. There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding me.
There is a love holding all that I love.
Second verse.
There is a love holding all
There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all we rest in this love. How do we do the same time?
We'll talk about it later.
Yay! We'll call it a win.
I don't know what it took for you to get to this morning, but you made it. Congratulations. You got here, not just to this place, but to this morning. In a world of suffering, some wring their hands. Some get busy, roll up their sleeves, and pitch in. Some, on the other hand, just turn away. But in a world of suffering, I'd like to put forth this morning one option to consider is architecture. Granted the gifts we've received, the capacities we carry, it's my contention today that each of us individually and that this congregation collectively is an architect. But before going further, it's important to say up front that it would be easier to ignore this call on your life. To commit to the act of creation is to commit to adversity, to steer toward discomfort. It's always easier to destroy than to create, to tear down than to build up. It's easier to kick over a sandcastle than to spend an afternoon building one. It's easier to break trust than to build it. It would be easier to decide to just close down this congregation tomorrow than it would be to invest in what it will take to shepherd it collectively to the next level. If you are in a marriage or committed relationship, it would be easier to just declare victory and break up and end things than it will be to turn toward each other and discover and mindfully create together what will be the next chapter. If you're in the middle of life, it would be easier to self-sabotage, to run things off the rails and make chaos than it will be to size up your situation and begin to put together the next decade or two. It's always easier to destroy than create. Of course, many people in a congregation, a marriage, a career, or a life are tempted to avoid either one. They don't want to actively destroy what they've got, but the work of creation is challenging and confusing, so they can kind of float through time as if in an inner tube down a slow bathwater warm river, half asleep as the days pass and then the decades. I know that's not anyone here choosing comfort over progress. I'm just saying that some people are content to live their lives like that. It's always easier to destroy than create, and it's easiest of all to let comfort be your compass and to just drift along. But for those of us who might consider the great call on our lives to be architects, where on earth would we start? There's a familiar myth about the creative process which goes like this. Starting a project brings the challenge of staring at the blank page. Whether a visual artist or else a writer, you start with nothing. Well, I disagree. I see creativity always, the creative act, as a kind of response. Never the first move, but the second at least. One of my favorite books is called How Music Works by the musician David Byrne, who sings for the Talking Heads. In this book, David Byrne talks about the early days of Talking Heads in the mid-1970s at CBGB's in New York. As he describes it, these were all sort of young art students who were still learning their instruments, and he described it playing at CBGB's as a concrete bunker, all hard live walls. And that meant that sounds in this room would pinball off each other. The acoustics were so live, he said, that unless they wanted their music to get lost in the roar of feedback and echo, they had to write songs with staccato rhythms and precise phrasing in order to be heard by the people there. His point was that the music that the Talking Heads are famous for did not come from nothing. It was a specific response to a particular environment. Creativity being a response to the environment is not only true of our artistic pursuits, it is the fact of how life itself moves. Throughout the long, undulating story of evolution, survival and flourishing in species requires adaptation to a dynamic environment. Industrialization fills a forest with black soot, and in response, the bird population develops darker plumage as camouflage better suited for these new conditions. The creativity in creation is never from nothing. It's always a response. So for those who would consider the sacred call in their lives to be architects, the first act of creation is not to plunge in busily with the action of making. The first act of creation, I would say, is to notice, to listen, to receive. When an architect engages a project, they don't begin by peppering the client with possible solutions. It's not a matter of saying, do you like this? Do you like that? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? As if it was a Pinterest board come to life. When an architect engages a project, they spend an enormous amount of time understanding the program or what is wanted or imagined to happen in the space they'll create. In other words, what is the problem for which architecture could be the solution? An active response. So too are we called to ask such questions, to understand these needs before us. If we are to be the architects I believe we can be. But how would that look in this context, one might reasonably ask. In fact, I imagine you asking right now, I'm interested in being an architect, Jake. I've always wanted to be an architect. I'm imagining you thinking this out as if there are thought bubbles above your head. But how on earth would we begin? The architects we celebrate, Frank Lloyd Wright, I.M. Pei, Zaha Hadid, are remembered for the monuments they designed using stone, glass, and wood to majestically occupy parcels of land to fill the realm of space. But the architecture I'm talking about this morning is less concerned with the medium of space. The architecture I mean works in the landscape of time. Years ago, Abraham Joshua Heschel's book, The Sabbath, which you heard Jen read from earlier in the service, blew my mind for the way it turned my assumption of God on its ear. While in earlier centuries, Heschel said God was conceived of in spatial terms. God, whatever it is something above us, in the sky, out in space, or even sometimes located with a mailing address here in our hearts. Another accurate way, said Heschel, to find God would be not to look in space, but in time. To find God not in monuments, but in moments. So if each of us was to be an architect, if we together were to collectively be an architect working in the medium of time, our questions might less start with where than they would start with when. For instance, using the building supplies provided by Unitarian Universalism. Thanks, Rob. One might ask, when in Blount County, in FUUF, or my family, is there more or less equity? More or less justice? More or less transformation? When in Blount County, in this community, or my family, is love not easily held or sustained? Maybe it's the moment someone's going through loss, a divorce, a death, the loss of a job, the loss of hope. Maybe it's the moment when people can't understand each other and in their frustration have grown bitter and hard. Maybe it's the moment when just because of someone is or who they love, they're being unseen, disrespected, cast out. As we attune our eyes and ears to these moments in our purview, that when love is lacking, we become oriented to the possible site of our architecture. A friend of mine who worked with poor people in southwestern Virginia, she had this line that kept her oriented. She said, I try to ask every day, who is my heart breaking for? That's where my mission is. And that's what I'm talking about here. Who is your heart breaking for? And when is that suffering sharpest? Of course, the landscape of life we are called to build on is not uncontested. We're not the only one who have designs in mind. In recent years, urban design has seen a proliferation of what's called hostile architecture. Anybody heard that phrase before, hostile architecture? Yeah. This is intentionally designing public space to discourage use by those who rely on it most. People who are unhoused, who are young, who are disenfranchised. Hostile architecture looks like removing seats from train stations so that people won't linger. It looks like putting metal spikes in places where someone might sit or lie down if they're tired. It looks like making the mouth of trash receptacles very small so you can only throw away so much. It's the architecture of deterrence, the architecture of get out and stay out. And there are those who design in the landscape of time much the same with the architecture of deterrence, of get out and stay out. Organizing events that don't allow certain voices, conducting conversations that shut down or erase certain lives, planning holiday celebrations that ensure kinds of exclusion. That's what hostile architecture in the landscape of time can look like. So we who labor in the name of love and who have come to understand when in our environment there exists a poverty of love, we're challenged to imagine and dream and design otherwise. Challenged not only to construct the tiny house of a passing encounter with a stranger, to design not only the bus stop of this hour on Sundays, which we might infuse with love, but we're challenged, if we're serious, to be about the construction of a vast cathedral in time. What I mean is that if we are serious about our work together, if we understand ourselves as the stewards of grand tradition inherited from those ancestors we most revere, we won't be content with the tiny house of a passing exchange or even the good-sized construction of a year or two. As architects of time, operating on behalf of love, which is holy, and having borne witness to suffering in our midst and the absence of love, we are called to respond with architecture on the grandest scale of all. To replace the shopping mall we've been provided of transactional relationships with instead an everlasting cathedral to love with room for everyone and ways to get in and show up and be for everyone for all time. It is to meet an age of dehumanization with the architecture of rehumanization. It is to be about nothing less than the work of creating heaven on earth right here in Blount County. And if we're after building something that lasts, then we'll use only the best materials for the strongest construction. Imagine a floor built of trust that's so solid that nothing could break it, no matter how heavy the burden. Imagine strong walls built of bricks of clear boundaries, joined with a mortar of integrity. Imagine windows in this cathedral that invite people to see one another through confusion as the precious creatures we all are. Imagine sustainable electricity of creativity and imagination in this cathedral, making so much more possible. Imagine a roof overhead, not unlike what religious scholar Peter Berger called the sacred canopy, which creates the context in each encounter, that we meet one another only ever on holy ground. One of my most striking memories from a child was when I was playing ASO soccer in Knoxville. I was about 8 or 9 years old. I showed up one Saturday morning, mist still in the air, and there on the sidelines was Nature Boy Ric Flair. Nature Boy Ric Flair was a famous professional wrestler from the 1980s, and he stood there all 9 feet tall of him and broad shoulders, and it changed everything that day. I was no longer playing soccer. I was giving back to Nature Boy Ric Flair, all that he had given to me. And I imagined something like this, that ordinary moments, now suffused with time, now unfolding in the cathedral of love, would take on a strangeness and a beauty and a transformational power in such that way. I didn't know if I should share that example. And now I'm wondering whether or not I should. But I did. And there's no taking back. What if this holy space found in time, in ordinary moments, wherever we went, wherever we met one another, wherever we met a stranger, was not just a fleeting moment here and there, but the general condition of Blount County, not only for us, but for all? What if this cathedral was built accessibly in the broadest possible sense of that term, so it could welcome in everyone? What if there were now bridges in Blount County where hostile architecture has built iron-locked gates? What if there were windows where there are now walls? What if there was dug and established a reliable well with a plentiful fount of forgiveness, where you could draw on again and again in your family, at FUUF, and in wider Blount County, if we put our minds to it? What could we not create? Our mission in this life with this congregation, in the time we have, is not to get busy with projects and checklists. God help us. Our mission is not to win fights or score points. Just like the architect Christopher Wren, after the fire of London in 1666, was called to build from the rubble something beautiful and enduring, so too are we in this time of destruction and loneliness and mistrust, called to similar work, similar restoration, to build a cathedral as vast as eternity. Moment by moment, month by month, year by year, we'll be working on it. And if it's hard to see how heaven on earth could be achieved or established in our lifetime, we might remember the thought from theologian Reinhold Niebuhr that nothing worth doing can be achieved in our lifetime. So we give ourselves to it. We do what we can, which is all that we can, in the time that we have, and then step away so that those who come after can continue in the work. There is a call on your life this morning, a call on this congregation. People are hurting in your family, congregation, and out in Blount County for the lack of what we could build for them and with them. All of us, if we're honest, are also hurting in some way ourselves. This last decade has seen a great destroying fire, and now it's time to rebuild, moment by moment, month by month, year by year. Let's get to this great work, which we do in the service of, and toward the glory of love itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have a song to end things.
Yeah, we have no plan for this at this point because we don't have a singer, so we might want to pull up the YouTube. And
We've got, oh, we can't go to YouTube.
Okay, here, I have a song.
We have lyrics.
Yeah.
What?
We're going to sing a different song.
Okay.
Well, here.
See? This is a song, so,
Do you want a bass?
yeah. The answer to that is always. Stanfield Burns was a Presbyterian minister in South Boston in the 1980s, involved in community organizing, multicultural, multi-faith organizing. They were doing hard work on affordable housing, and Stanfield Burns was distressed to find that in this broad multi-faith coalition, there was often not a common song people could sing, and so he wrote one. So this is a song that he wrote for that community organizing effort in South Boston. It's called Walking With You. It goes like this. Okay. I'm going to start singing it, and then you're going to join in because it's so repetitive, you'll know it after 2 lines. Walking, whoops. Walking with you. Walking with you is my prayer. Walking with you. Walking with you is my prayer. Now singing, singing with you. Singing with you is my prayer. Singing with you, singing with you is my prayer. Now laughing, laughing, laughing with you, laughing with you is my prayer. Laughing, laughing with you. Laughing with you is my prayer. Now walking, walking with you. Walking with you is my prayer. Walking with you. Walking with you is my prayer.
I hope you will set an intention to take with you the gifts you have found here, the gifts of love, the gifts of music, and the charge to think about the ways that we can be architects in this community and beyond it. As we extinguish our talents, we will be putting out the physical flame, but carry with you the flame of love and connection as you go into your week ahead. And I hope you will all stay for the town meeting that will maybe give us a start on some of that architecture. Let's be.
It's a miracle.